So I'm going to be picking the Parramatta Eels 13 plus. Parramatta Eels 13 plus.
Connor Scott left Gufferson behind. He left Paulo behind. Now Ferguson from left field. Ferguson doesn't stop. Pappenhausen's there, Kevy. Have a look at him.
One.
Ryan Pappenhausen defends into attack, and Okar's got the ball, and Okar, he's turning Moses inside out like a sock.
Oh, yeah.
Josh and Okar sprints away to score.
Hey guys, Luke here, and I'm here to do an apology video. I just want to apologize for tipping the Parramatta Eels. It was honestly, like, this is genuine. It was honestly one of the worst decisions I've ever made in my life. The Melbourne Storm. I will never tip against you ever again. Seriously though, Parramatta, what the fuck? How can you be so good when you play at home and so shit when you play away? Honestly, you're like the NRL equivalent of a catfish. You look so bloody good and then you turn up against Melbourne and you look like shit. Anyways, I've learnt my lesson. I'm never tipping against Melbourne ever again. Unless they're playing the Roosters, because I'll tip the Roosters then. Anyways, I don't know. Let's recap round 9, shall we? I'll be honest, not the biggest fan of Magic round. Going into it, I was very excited to see what it would be like, but so many injuries and I don't think the crowds are very good. In the lead up, all they would do is talk about how Suncorp's going to be rocking, it's going to be packed out, the team's going to be playing in front of a packed out Suncorp Stadium. It just wasn't the case, was it? When I was watching the Bulldogs Knights play, I remember thinking, yeah, this crowd reminds me of like an under-20s or reserve grade game. Like, there's a little bit of a crowd, but they're mostly just there for the big game later on. And I don't really think at any point was there actually like a full packed out Suncorp Stadium. Maybe over the span of like 3 games in one day, if you add all the people up, there would have been a sellout at Suncorp or something. But I mean, individual games, it just wasn't there. I don't think it helps that most of the teams playing aren't from Brisbane. Therefore, all the other teams, they have to travel. I mean, if it was in Sydney, most of the teams are already in Sydney. It'd only be really like 3 or 4 teams who have to travel rather than like most of the league traveling up to Brisbane. But despite all of that, despite all the injuries, I'm not going to say it was a total shit show. It was kind of cool. And I think I want to see what it goes like next year before I make a final judgment call on it. Anyways, we've talked about the actual Magic Round concept itself. Let's talk about the games that happened. Let's go. The first game of the round saw the Cronulla Sharks defeat the Gold Coast Titans. It was just the one game on Thursday. And in the end, the Sharks got the win, which I thought was going to happen. But it was a lot closer than what I thought. I mean, it was a comeback victory. The Titans didn't look too bad. I do think they blew it though. They probably should have won that game, especially with the injuries that happened to the Sharks. I mean, Edger Fifita went down pretty early on, and I mean, he's probably their best player. So, I mean, they couldn't get the job done against the Sharks with their best player going. Yeah, adding that Sean Johnson and Matt Moylan that already were injured and weren't playing. It was the Titans' game to win, and they lost it. I will say, I don't like Paul Gallen, but it was pretty funny to see him, of all people, score the try at the end to seal the game, and then kick the goal from right in front. I thought it was pretty funny. But yeah, overall, it wasn't like an amazing game by any means, and I don't know, it wasn't the best of starts to the round, to be honest. I reckon they would have been better off just scrapping the Thursday game and playing it on a Friday or playing it on a Sunday. Just the one game on Thursday made no sense to me. Moving on to Friday night, we had a doubleheader. This one was the Tigers defeating the Penrith Panthers, an absolute flogging for the Tigers. I couldn't believe it. I didn't see it coming. I thought the Panthers would at least be half-foot fired up. I mean, Ivan Cleary up against his old team. You knew the Tigers are going to be up for it, but I thought the Panthers were definitely going to be up for it. I mean, the season was on the line. I know every week the season seems to be on the line. I mean, at what point is it just completely over? Well, right now it should be anyways. But yeah, they were gone. Within the first few minutes, they were gone. You could just tell Tigers all over them, and Bai had one of the best games I've ever seen Moses and Bai play. I didn't see much of the game because I was at work, but I watched the highlights, and yeah, Tigers just all over them. Panthers, an absolute disgrace this year. I don't really rate them as a team, but I definitely rate them higher than what they're going. I just don't get it. Also, it's crazy to see Benji Marshall and Robbie Farah carving it up in 2019. Like, I can't believe it. 2005, they won the comp, and here they are in 2019, playing some of the best footy they've ever played. Meanwhile, on the other hand, we have this young Panthers team who should be young and fired up and hungry for success, and they don't even look like they're putting in. The Tigers, though, they were just outstanding. They had that ball on a string, and they deserved the win. The second game saw the Brisbane Broncos defeat Manly, and I gotta say, even though it was a Broncos away game, they looked like they had most of the crowd there. Just like it looked like a normal Broncos home game to me, except they were wearing different jerseys. But the Manly side, once again, fighting very, very hard. Des Hasler, he's doing wonders with this team. Their team on paper has no right to be in a contest with a team like the Broncos. I will say though, the Broncos, they weren't that good in my opinion. It's just more of Manly just weren't that good either. If any other team, I mean, they're talking up the Broncos taking on the Roosters next week, the Roosters will absolutely carve up the Broncos, I guarantee it. But yeah, the Broncos, they did enough to get the win. They weren't super impressive. Dearden, he looked okay. Milford, probably one of the better Milford games in my opinion. He controlled the game pretty well. Darius Boyd actually scored a try. Actually looked like he had a bit of a go this week. He even tried to make a tackle on, I don't even know the guy's name, Gosevsky or something. He was playing centre for Manly. Someone got injured and he was playing centre. But he just ran straight over the top of Darius Boyd. But at least Darius Boyd actually made an effort this time. He didn't make the tackle, but he made an effort. And that's a good improvement from Darius Boyd. I mean, I'm sure he'll go talk to the media and tell them how good his form was. And look, I even tried to make a tackle this week. So I will say though, this was the first sign of all the injuries happening. I mean, Jack Bird went down. A lot of Manly players went down. I think a lot of other players for the Broncos went down. I don't even know if they had a bench at one point. The Manly team already went into the game with a lot of injuries. Once a few injuries happened to them, it was just like, yeah, they're not going to win. I will say though, Jake Turpin for the Broncos, I thought he actually looked really, really good at hooker. I wonder what's going to happen with Seguiaro coming in. Is Seguiaro going to come off the bench like he did for Cronulla, or is he just going to start instead of Turpin? I'd like to see Turpin get a bit more of an extended go in the side. Now on a sad day, we had the Newcastle Knights defeating my Bulldogs. Now, I got to say, I thought the Knights would absolutely flog the Bulldogs. The Bulldogs had a lot of effort, a lot of fight, and I'll give them credit for that. I mean, they weren't really... At any stage, I didn't really look at the game and say, yeah, I think the Bulldogs are going to win it. Even when they had the comeback, even when the referee stuffed up and they did the knock on and the Knights eventually sealed the win. But I didn't expect the Bulldogs to go and score. Like, I just wasn't feeling it. Just wasn't our day. But there was a lot of effort there. I can't fault them on that. But yeah, the Knights, they were good in glimpses. I mean, Kalen Ponga was pretty good. Mitchell Pearce was okay, but that was just it. The Knights were okay. I thought David Clemmer was quite disappointing. Napa made a lot more meters than him, I'm pretty sure. And I mean, David Clemmer got sat in his ass by Sue. It was one of the best tackles I've ever seen. You don't really see Clemmer get dropped too often, and he definitely got dropped. He got launched, actually. Got picked up and driven, and he dropped the ball. So that was a highlight for me, but there wasn't really too many highlights in that game. I mean, Remus Smith scored a nice try, but I mean, Mitchell Pearce got a pretty lucky try. There was a few lucky tries throughout the game, but yeah, the overall quality of football wasn't that great. So I guess the Knights kind of find themselves on a bit of a roll. I mean, they've won 3 in a row, but I can't really say they've been super impressive. But I mean, they're getting wins now, which is a positive for them. But I mean, with that Bulldogs side, you have Ockenbar on one side, you have Montoya on the other. How they didn't put 50 on them, I'll never know. Now into the second game of Saturday. Now, I've got to admit, I didn't see this one, but the New Zealand Warriors defeated the Dragons. And I remember I was at work and a guy came in, he was watching it on his phone. And I said, give us a look there. Had a look. Dragons were winning just going into halftime, and I thought, oh yep, Dragons to win this one. I come home and hear that they had lost. I was like, what the hell? They had a big lead at halftime, 18-6 I think it was. How they lost that one, who knows? I mean, that's a big choke. I know the Dragons are kind of known for choking, but yeah, that's one hell of a choke. I mean, I don't know Corey Norman, no Gareth Widdop, the big losses, but this Warriors side, it's not very good, especially away from home, and the fact that they came back, a big comeback win, it just, I don't know, I think it says more about the Dragons than it does about the Warriors. But, I mean, the Warriors, they continue to fight. They're doing a lot better than I expected this year. But, yeah, the Dragons, I thought for sure they would have had this one. Also, Ben Hunt dropping another ball, this time from a dropout. I don't know what it is. I don't know if he's just got something psychological or... I know it wasn't a kickoff, but it was the same sort of principle. They've kicked it long, he's got under it, and he's just spilled it. I don't know. He just can't seem to catch him. And it does suck because it looked like he was having a pretty decent game. I remember the commentator saying, oh, yeah, he just put in a nice scrubber to get that repeat set. So the fact that him dropping this ball is kind of overshadowed his whole game. It is disappointing, but it's just what's going to happen when you're such a high profile player like Ben Hunt. But yeah, overall, a good effort by the Warriors. I mean, a lot of the times in previous years, you looked at Warriors' effort, and that was a big reason why you thought they're not winning. So at least the effort's there. That's a good thing. Now we move on to the total destruction of the Parramatta Eels. The Melbourne Storm put 60 on the Eels. I could not believe it. I actually predicted the Eels to win, and what more can I say? Like, Melbourne were absolutely dominant. That was so bloody good. And even like the first 15 minutes, it wasn't like the Tigers game where right from the get-go, it was game over. I mean, at one point it was like 16-6. I mean, it took 15 minutes for the first try to happen. And like, the Eels weren't total shit for the first bit. It's just, once the Storm got on a roll and then the sin bin happened, it was just a destruction. I don't know what to say. I'm not even an Eels fan, and I kind of feel embarrassed for them. Also, good job, Eels. You just played the Storm into form. Just what the rest of the league needs. Now we move on to Sunday, the match of the round. We had the Roosters just barely beating the Raiders. Now, at different points of this game, I was thinking, yeah, this is going to be a blowout. And I mean, the Roosters are up like 30-10 or something like that. So it kind of was a blowout. But with all the injuries that the Roosters had, Latrell Mitchell went down. I think Boy Corner got knocked out. I think Daniel Tupou went to hospital with a neck injury, which didn't look very good. Also, Jordan Rapana for the Raiders, he also went down. Just looked like he got sniped. I just remember thinking, geez, he's just gone down. No one's even touched him. So that's not a good sign for Rapana. A lot of injuries this game. But the injuries kind of benefited the Raiders this time, because I know Latrell Mitchell came back on, but the Roosters, they just looked like they were running out of gas, and the Raiders are the sort of team that can just throw it around a bit, and when it comes off, it looks so bloody good. They got so unlucky. Nick Kotrick at the end, all he had to do was just throw a simple pass. Instead, he tried an overhead pass, and he threw it forward 30 seconds ago. Would have let them even it up, take it to golden point, but it wasn't meant to be for the Raiders. The Roosters hold on. I mean, all the main guys for the Roosters is very good. I mean, Yakiri, Kronk, Tedesco, all those guys, amazing once again. Even there's a guy on the bench, I can't even remember his name, but he's got long hair. He seems very, very good as well. It's just crazy to think, even with all these injuries, like the Roosters can still pull it off against another top 4 team. Now moving on to the last game of the round, we had the Rabbitohs defeating the Cowboys. The Cowboys, they did put up a little bit of an effort, but I didn't really think they were ever going to beat the Rabbitohs. Rabbitohs seemed to be kind of in cruise control, but it was actually a pretty good battle. Sam Burgess up against Tamalalo. I think they had a few little contests there, but yeah, Tamalalo, he can't do it on his own. Michael Borgen showed flashes of brilliance. He also showed flashes of insanity. I mean, I remember they hadn't really had the ball for very long, and they had been under so much pressure, and he put in a kick on like the second tackle, and I remember all you could see is him on camera like mouthing to other players, yeah, I know, like I stuffed up, blah blah blah, yeah, I know, and you're like, oh, that's not a good sign. However, he did like hit back straight after and ended up like setting up a few tries. But yeah, the Rabbitohs, like I said, they were kind of in cruise control, never really looked like losing it. So yeah, easy win for the Rabbitohs. What can you say? Cody Walker, great form. Adam Reynolds playing very, very good. Burgess, Murray, this side is very, very good. So guys, that's all the games recapped. Hopefully you did enjoy it. Leave in the comment section below, what were your thoughts on Magic Round? Did you enjoy it? Also, while you're leaving that comment, make sure you go ahead and leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. Also, make sure to follow me on Twitter and Instagram. It's on the screen right now, Mr. Luke on YT. Go ahead and add me on Snapchat as well. It's also Mr. Luke on YT. And give my Facebook page a like. It's in the description below. Just search up Mr. Luke. It should come up. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching the video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.